Think of tennis and chances are you'll think of him. Think of the Grand Slam and he's appeared in 4 finals and won 3 titles. Think of the Olympics and he's won one of the rare medals that India has got. Now ask yourself, what is he like? Well, you don't have to wait long for an answer because today he's my guest. His name is Leander Paes. Welcome to the program, Leander.
Thanks for having me, Karan.
Let's start in 1999. 4 Grand Slam doubles finals and you win 2 of them, as well as the mixed doubles at Wimbledon. Would you say that was your best year ever?
Personally, I believe 1998 was my best year on the circuit, on the professional circuit, simply for the fact that in singles, I won my maiden tour title in the Hall of Fame Newport, Rhode Island tournament, as well as went on to beat Pete Sampras.
August 98, wasn't that right?
That's right. And also in 98, Mahesh and myself won the most number of tour titles on the circuit, as well as we got to 3 semi-finals of Grand Slams and ended the year number 2 in the world as a team.
But the real awards and trophies came tumbling in one after another in 99.
That's right.
Take me back to that moment in Roland Garros when you were poised to win your very first Grand Slam title as a senior. I mean, I know you have a junior couple before that. And the match went on to 2 days because of rain. Did you panic when you had to come out on Sunday at 5-all in the third set?
I was very anxious for the simple fact that one never knows how you're going to wake up the next morning and how you're going to feel the next morning, especially when you're playing with, a partner, and it takes 2 to tango. So the night before, I remember after the match, Mahesh and myself did everything we could just to stay together. We had dinner together, we hung out together. In the morning, as soon as we woke up, we called each other and we made sure we got to the courts.
Bonding was important.
Exactly. And basically, it was a fact of coming together as a team and keeping that focus, keeping that will to win or that composure that we had the day before and carrying it through.
You talk about the will to win, but it wasn't easy because when you were serving for the match at 40-30, they called your serve out and it went to deuce. What happened next? Did you suddenly lose your nerve or did you have to grit your teeth and say, no, I'm going to do it?
Our arms had already gone up. They were halfway up when they overruled that call, so we had to go back and I had to serve again. And it was mere formality at that time, just keeping our composure, concentrating, getting another good serve in, and the rest is history.
The rest is certainly history because 6 weeks later you added to it. You won 2 titles in Wimbledon, the doubles, and in fact you personally went on to win the mixed doubles. I know that as a child Wimbledon was a dream, so is this a dream come true?
Yes, it does. I have a special affection towards Wimbledon, and for the simple fact that having won the juniors there in 1990, I always wanted to do well in the seniors. And watching Wimbledon over the years and playing Wimbledon over the years, I had a craving in me to really do well. Having noticed that doubles was my forte, and in 1999 I was prepared to play doubles and mixed doubles right through the whole tournament. And sitting back now, looking at 1999, that was a magic week. It was something that I hold very, very close to my heart.
But in the middle of all that magic, there's one little sore thumb that sticks out: Australia. You were the losing finalist as a junior in 1990, and with Bhupathi in 1999, you were the losing finalist in the mixed doubles. Is there a jinx down under?
Australia is where things started for me. In 1990, when I first went there as an unknown 16-year-old from India, I had to play the top seed Jan Codes Jr. in the first round, and I ended up beating him in the first round in 2 tight sets and getting on to the final. So that's where things really started for me on the international circuit, and 1990 in Australia gave me the belief, the confidence in myself to live my dream.
Australia started everything, and yet the prize eluded you.
So far it has.
Does that hurt?
No, sure it hurts in a little bit, but I know that I gave it every single thing I had.
That's what really counts.
And that's what really counts, especially in 99 when we got to the finals down under against Patrick Rafter and Jonas Bjorkman. We lost 6-4 in the 5th set, and we played the match of our lives that day, and there was one match that I really felt that has been the best match that we've played, but yet not won.
Is playing more important than winning?
To me it is.
Even for a champion?
To me it is.
You know, they say that you and Bhupathi are really a dream team. Everyone has an explanation for what makes you so great. But what's your explanation?
Mahesh and me share a passion towards our tennis, towards our friendship. And that's what makes us special.
So passion is the answer?
It is. It's something that even now that we're struggling with, because we're still trying to regroup from all that's happened with our injuries in 2000, our differences in 2000. Coming back together now, we working very, very hard to make things work.
Isn't
and
that the
rebuild
irony
that.
of it, in fact, in a strange way? Just as you were professionally reaching your peak and everything was working together, personally you started to fall apart.
Yes, unfortunately, that's the way things went. And having matured a little bit from the incident in 2000, I sit back and see that I could have done things a little different.
Do you blame yourself a little for the relationship falling apart?
I don't blame myself, but I've learned from it. I think that Mahesh and myself could have handled the situation better, and part of it is my responsibility, and that's what I've tried to learn from.
Is part his?
Sure it is.
And has he learned from it too?
I believe he has, and that's what we're trying at the moment, to rebuild that passion.
Do you
to
think you'll
rebuild that.
succeed in rebuilding the relationship, or do you think some of the magic has inevitably leaked away?
At the moment, we are battling a few injuries. Mahesh has had shoulder surgery, and he's lost a little bit of sting on his serve. I myself am getting on in years with the amount of tennis that I've played, so hence a little bit of tendonitis is creeping in. So hence we're battling the odds. But on saying that, we're trying to rebuild that passion, friendship, professional, as well as, with our tennis, and seeing if we can...
So the dream could come true a second time again.
That's what we're working for.
You know, if one of the golden streaks in your career is playing doubles with Mahesh, would you say that the other golden streak is playing for India in the Davis Cup?
To me, my stage to perform is when I play for the country.
It matters more?
It matters more to me than when I play for myself.
You have some incredible Davis Cup singles victories. I mean, the people you've beaten is astonishing. Goran Ivanisevic, Mark Rosette, Henri Lecomte, Wayne Ferreira. I mean, those victories, are they inspiration, perspiration, or just patriotism?
It's a tradition that's carried out right from my parents to me. Ever since I was a young boy, my passion was to play for my country, to play for our tricolour flag, or to play with our national anthem.
You mean that seriously? That's not just a cliche.
People who know me know I mean it seriously.
The better bit of you comes out when you're playing for India.
My results prove it. My demeanour on court proves it. And as far as I'm concerned, to me, each one of us get turned on or get sparked by different things. Some money, some fame, some fortune. To me, it's playing for the country.
Let's go back to that moment in 1995 when you were playing even Goran Ivanisevic. You were trailing by 2-1 and you suddenly had to dash off the court in panic. What exactly happened?
I was very sick coming into the tie. I had the famous Delhi belly. And
you had diarrhea when you were playing with even Goran Ivanisevic?
I was sick. And right through that whole match, which went on, I believe, for 4 hours and 23 minutes, I was staring down the barrel at 2-love down. I was down love 3, serving 30-40. And from there, it was an uphill task. And I was just trying to find a way to come back and get my clothes back into the match. And 4 hours later, I found myself up 2 sets all and up 2-love in the 5th set. So at that point, I was so exhausted and so tired that I just needed to get off the court for 5 minutes. I was just exhausted, and that little break, went back into the locker room, washed myself down, sprinkled some water on my face, and came back and went on with the match. And after the match, I remember I was so tired. It took me about 2 weeks to recover from that.
In fact, you were crying when you were serving for the match in the 5th set. Was that excitement? Was it pain? Or were you simply overwhelmed by what you were about to achieve?
Exhaustion.
Exhaustion.
Davis Cup takes a lot out of me, especially the fact that I've been doing it for 10 years, having to play 3 matches over 3 days, all best of 5 sets.
Tell me something, Leander. Why weren't you more intimidated by Goran? After all, your ranking at the time was 123. He was 7th. He was, in fact, the losing Wimbledon finalist of that year. And yet you battled him, you took him on despite illness and won. Why weren't you worried and scared?
Intimidation? What for? He's just another man who's got special talents out there, and so am I. And I'm playing for my country. I've got 1 billion people supporting me, lifting me up to greater heights rather than putting pressure on my shoulders. And that's the way I look at pressure.
You've done incredible things when you're playing for the country at Davis Cup. And yet, sadly, when one looks at your own record on the singles circuit, it's never quite the same. How do you explain that?
Passion. To me, I really need to be passionate about what I do. And that's when I bring out my best. So playing for the country, doubles, playing with a fellow Indian.
So it's not Leander's own ambition that matters, it's achieving something for someone else or for another cause that matters.
It's Leander's own ambition to achieve for his country.
Not for himself.
Not necessarily. I am doing it for myself as well, yes.
But there have been two incredible achievements for yourself as well. There was Atlanta '96 when you won the Olympic bronze. You were down by one set. Did you ever say to yourself at that moment of almost crisis, oh dear, I'm not going to get this medal?
Ever since I was a young boy, as crazy as it sounds, I never ever thought that I would not get an Olympic medal. That was what my dream was, to work towards an Olympic medal. Didn't matter whether I won Wimbledon or not, or I won X amount of money or not. I wanted to win an Olympic medal.
Is this because your father had won as a hockey player?
I wanted to sit at the dining table along with him and say, hey, we're both Olympic medalists.
So when you actually stood on that victory podium and they played the national anthem, the whole world saw you crying. What was the emotion that was surging through you at that time?
I had my family watching me that day, and I had a lot of Indians around the world watching me, especially at Stone Mountain, the stadium we were playing in. And over the years of all the hard work that I've put in, there are many people who have supported me, and I wouldn't be half the man I am today without them. My family, my coaches, my trainers.
You're very emotional about them. The very thought brings tears back to your eyes almost. So playing for India, playing for your family, is what really motivates Leander Paes. 3 years later, in August '98, you mentioned it earlier, at the Penn International, you played against Sampras, and you beat him in straight sets. How does that compare to the Olympic victory?
It's a different memory altogether. To me, Sampras is the most complete player in my era, and hence having a winning record against him, both in singles and doubles, is something that I'm very proud of. Especially that one match at Yale University, I played the match of my life that day. I don't think Pete played up to his expectations that day, but nevertheless, I'll still take that as a win.
Did you surprise yourself with that?
Not really. Again,
you knew you had it in you.
That whole summer I was traveling with Leighton Hewitt, a young Australian prodigy, and Bob Carmichael, my coach, was coaching Leighton and myself, and Leighton played him the day before. So coming into the match, I'd already got some advice from Leighton on a few strategic things that Sampras does. So I had 2 breakpoints that whole match, and I converted both of them. So I felt I was well prepared. To me, the path to trying to win or the path to excellence is what's more important, and I was playing exactly on my path that day.
Leander, let's take a break there. I want to come back in part 2 and talk about the man behind the champion. You've given us hints of that personality, but let's see if you'll reveal just a little bit more. We'll be back in a couple of moments. Stick with us. Welcome back. My guest is the tennis player, Leander Paes. Leander, let's talk a little about you personally. In the book that he's writing about you with your help, Rohit Bijnard claims that you were conceived at the Munich Olympics. How do you know that?
Rohit's giving away a few family secrets, it looks like. Down from my parents. I guess my dad always had a dream that his first son would be an athlete. And
so he timed the conception to happen at the Olympics?
You're going to have to ask Dad that one. But as far as I'm concerned, I obviously was inquisitive as a kid, and I asked him questions about when I was conceived and how he got me into sport and so on and so forth. And that was the story I was given. And
he took an awful lot of care in making sure that you were a sportsman. I gather he actually began the sports training when you were still in your crib.
Yep, he did.
Do you remember what he did?
A lot of it is kind of faint. A lot of it, I get from my mom telling me things that, Dad was kind of overly ambitious at the time, where he wanted me to, play with a tennis ball, or if I used to sleep with my soccer ball, or as I remember one incident when I was 10 years old, I wouldn't part with my soccer boots, so much so that I used to sleep with them. Soccer's always been my first love, but having been conceived at the Olympics and brought up in a family that I've been brought up in, really playing for the country or playing for the Olympics and trying to live that dream is something that comes very naturally to me.
In fact, more than any coach and any manager, it is your father who shaped and guided your career, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I wouldn't be half the man I am today without my family.
And yet, loads of other people often disagree with him. For instance, your headmaster at La Martiniere thought your father was doing the wrong thing completely.
Yes. I think that's something that we struggle with in India. I think that we're very academically inclined, and that's a really good thing. But when a kid like me is talented in a special field, and the parents and the child is ambitious enough to follow that dream, it's not very well taken, especially in our academic scenario.
In fact, the headmaster took rather drastic action, didn't he?
Yes, it is. He held me back in grade 5 for attendance. And the simple fact is that every time I had to take attendance, I needed his permission. So those are the things that, one had to battle coming up from a country like India. It made me that much more hungry, or it kind of kept that fire in my belly burning that much more to achieve what my dreams were.
It wasn't just headmasters you had to battle. You look incredibly fit today. In fact, you're a testament to fitness. And yet, as a child, you had to overcome epileptic fits, a murmur of the heart, as well as something called the Osgood-Schlatter problem of the knee.
That's right. At the moment, I'm the fittest I've ever been, for the simple fact that I've got the experience of all the years, as well as I've been very, very strict with my training regime and my diet and so on and so forth. But going back to my junior years, I was told by many doctors, heart surgeons and doctors, that I would never ever be able to play sport. I have a little bit of a heart problem that I was carrying ever since I was born.
You still have it?
Yes, I do. It's benign at the moment, but my mom was very sick when she gave birth to me, so that's something that I've had to battle and keep a check on every 3 months. And it's really good that I'm very lucky that my dad's a doctor, so he can do my health checkups every 3 months and keep me in check. But going back to my junior years, I had to overcome a lot of physical battles. Osgood-Schlatter's disease in my knee, which is basically a culmination of kicking a soccer ball too often. As I said, soccer was my passion, and I would play soccer about 6 hours a day. And whenever I was not in school, be it at home, be it at the club, be it anywhere, even on the tennis court, I would be kicking a soccer ball or playing football with a tennis ball. And just the repeated kicking of a heavy, full-size soccer ball at a young age kind of wore my knee tendons down.
And you've had to live with that problem ever since?
I was in a brace for about 2 months. Share a little anecdote with you that when I was in that brace, I missed my tennis so much that there was a tournament at the Calcutta Cricket and Football Club in Calcutta. And my dad was not in town, so I was a little bold. I entered into the tournament without anybody knowing that I had the brace on. And I played the tournament with my brace on, and I beat my best friend at the time, Sunny Uthup, Usha Uthup's son, who was a classmate of mine, in the final with that brace on.
You know, they say that Leander's greatest strength, more than even his talent at tennis, is his self-belief. Is that what keeps you going at tough moments like this?
Yes, it does. It's the reason I chose tennis over soccer, because in tennis, being an individual sport, you got to depend on yourself.
So tennis suits your personality better?
That's a tough question to answer, because I love team sport. All my best results have come in team sport. Davis Cup, doubles, mixed doubles, soccer. But at the same time, there's a sense of individuality inside me. I've got a very lonely streak inside me where I like to do things my way. I have a very high sense of belief in myself, but yet I like the camaraderie of a team sport.
You know, Naresh Kumar, the legendary now non-playing tennis captain, said once of you, he said that Leander's a showman who's his best when he has a stage and an audience.
Couldn't be put better. Sir Naresh has always been one of my idols. He's been a guru to me who I'm very, very fond of him. I kind of look up to him for many, many decisions in my life. And he gave me my first break when I was 16 years old, straight after the Junior Australian Open, where he selected me for Davis Cup in Chandigarh against Japan. And I was very, very lucky that time that we won 18-16 in the fifth, partnering Zishan Ali in the doubles. But, you know, I think every athlete or every person needs a guru to give them their breaks. So Naresh is mine.
But, you know, on court, you have an incredibly theatrical manner. Is that because you're pumping yourself up? Also because, perhaps unconsciously, part of you likes to play to the gallery? You like to keep the audience happy?
In that respect, I am a bit of a showman. I love playing to a gallery.
And you build a rapport with them, and that pumps you up?
I use that energy force between the crowd and myself to lift me to greater heights, especially when the chips are down.
And does it help if the crowd is Indian rather than just an ordinary tennis-loving crowd?
It doesn't make a difference in the fact whether the crowd's for me or against me. As long as there's a crowd there and they're into the match, I feel the energy. I must say that playing at home is a lot easier than playing away. But
this also means that if you have a rather lukewarm crowd or a dead crowd, that saps your energy.
I try and stay away from that. It used to be a problem when I was a kid. When there were two people were in the stands watching me and there was no one really out there supporting and getting into the match, I would find it very, very difficult to motivate myself. But that's something that I've mastered over the years. And if you look at one particular Davis Cup tie, which I hold close to my heart in the south of France, in Fréjus, in '93, Ramesh Krishnan and myself and Sir Naresh went down to...
When you beat Leconte, and you also beat Arnaud Bosch, didn't you?
We had all the French against us in the beginning of the tie, and they were very, very vocal about their support to their players. And we had the Indian embassy, I would say about 30 people out there supporting us, and yet I managed to use that crowd to lift me to greater heights.
So just 30 is enough to give you that energy that you need, that vitality.
And using the energy which is for the French crowd, turning that around in my favor.
So when people like the Thai press or Mark Rosette or Jeremy Bates criticize your behavior in court, how do you respond to them?
I don't read the papers the morning of my matches. I choose not to. As well as there are certain reporters that I do read, and the rest I don't. So as far as I'm concerned, I know myself, and I have a responsibility to myself, and when I'm playing Davis Cup to the country. So it doesn't matter what other people say or think of me, as long as I know I'm true to myself and true to my passion or my dreams. I think I'm doing well.
Now, you're nearly 28, you're very eligible, you're extremely successful, and you're probably by now also quite rich. Why are you still single?
Good question. Time. Time is my biggest enemy in terms of
You
family.
haven't got time to fall in love?
Haven't got time to sustain it.
So you've been in and out of love, but it hasn't held on for long enough?
I've been in a few long relationships, but just with my family itself, I barely spend 6 to 8 weeks in the year with them, let alone trying to maintain a long-distance relationship. That's something that I think is a very tough thing for an athlete to go through, because you don't have the time to give to a relationship. And to me, marriage, family, things like that are basically something that you have to be ready for. And I'm not quite ready for it yet.
So does this mean there's still hope for all those millions of young girls who are hoping to catch you?
Well, they're going to have to wait for a while.
How long?
No time barrier. When I start slowing down with my travel, then I'll probably think about it.
So marriage is not something you're thinking of. Your focus is completely on tennis at the moment.
Yes.
Good luck, Leander. I look forward to many more victories, and thank you for a wonderful interview.
Thank you.